Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bouncing Back, the Personal Resilience Science Insights podcast produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I am your host, Joanna. Let's get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we are tapping into our vulnerable selves, especially those who are stuck in a toxic relationship. How do we know if we are in a toxic relationship? How do we get out? And how can we rebuild ourselves after finally leaving a toxic relationship? And in today's episode, we are joined by Micaela Buenemann, a transformational life coach, speaker, and the co-founder of Heartegy life and business coaching with over 20 years of experience overcoming destructive patterns. Mika has dedicated her career to helping female leaders build healthier relationships through her signature approach, combining holistic coaching, vibrational recalibration, and deep subconscious alignment. As a lifestyle recalibration facilitator, she empowers clients to break free from toxic cycles and create fulfilling connections with speed, joy, and efficiency. So let's dive into today's topic. Not yet, and we'll say hi to Mika first. So, Mika, hi, and welcome to our show.
Thank you. Good morning. Hi, everyone.
And good morning to you too, Mika. It's wonderful seeing you, and we're grateful to have you here in the show. So, Mika, what brought you into this career?
Ha! That's a good one. Personal experience, unfortunately. And now I must say fortunately, because this is obviously not a problem that just happened to me, but for a long time it felt very difficult. And eventually I managed to work through it and get where I am today, helping others to do the same, which now I appreciate what happened, something that wasn't the case during those times.
I'm glad that you have gotten out of that toxic relationships and now helping other people in overcoming those toxic relationships. And can you give us a little overview on what are the different toxic relationships out there that people are having?
Sure, yeah. Toxic relationships we often think of only as romantic partners. And
Mm-hmm.
while that is absolutely true and the most known form, when we look back at the roots of that problem, so to say, it usually starts with the relationships that we have as children, with our siblings, with our family, with our environment. And it's this subconscious conditioning that later brings us to repeat the same patterns in other life and attract sort of situations that we are not aware of, but mimic the same dynamics that we're used to. So coming back to what type of toxic relationships, there are so many. They can be with your parents, they can be with your brother and sister, they can be with your teacher, they can be with your best friend, um, they can be with your employer or your colleagues, they can be really with anyone around you.
I see. So toxic relationships can come in different forms, and it's not just romantic relationships. And although I want to go into it further, we are going to go and get to know you a little bit better before we dive further into the topic. So, we're going to go into a segment called Have You Met Mika? Okay, so Mika, first and foremost, what is your favorite book?
My favorite book, I have so many, I can't even tell you, but Actually, most recently, I came across one. It's called The Four Agreements, and it's written by Don Miguel, and I forgot his last name. But if you Google it, The Four Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom from Don Miguel, and his last name is
Mm.
escaping my mind right now. It was the content that blew my mind, because it it talks so beautifully about the essence of all the work that I'm doing and the essence to personal
Mm.
freedom and peace, and that's is something that he does in the four agreements. I will quickly mention them because I think that they're relevant for anyone that's listening. The first one is being impeccable with our words, so being really actually
Mm-hmm.
quite loving with our words, especially towards ourselves in the first place, and then towards others. The second agreement is not to take things personally, which is also a very important one. The third one, not to assume things and ask the difficult question. And the fourth, always doing the best that we can do. And with those four keys, of course, in the book, I mean, it goes a lot more into depth in the application of it, but it's such an approachable,
Mm-hmm.
uh, applicable. It's really the basics of everything that we need for personal liberation and empowerment. So I would say that's my favorite.
I see. So it's a self-development book to reflect
Yes.
ourselves and becoming and in becoming a better person. And what about your
Yeah.
favorite movies?
I'm someone that loves all these uh, silly romantic comedy movies. That's at least how some people call them. I don't need these big action movies. I like movies with a silver lining, and I find the silver lining in so many movies. It's always for me an inspiration to see, wow, look how you can look at things as well, and look, there's evidence that this can be done differently. The most recent
Mm-hmm.
one of these movies was called A Dance in the Snow. It's quite a recent movie. I think it was done in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
No special actors. I mean, really quite down to earth. But it's about an autistic daughter that is in her adolescence and her mother. And ultimately, how everything is possible when you really connect with what you want in your heart and go for it and have the support network around you to actually get there. So I found it so, oh, that was the most recent one. But yeah, I can get into many silly movies and have a very good time with them.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's quite similar to your work, quite empowering. And what about any podcast? Are you listening to any of them at the moment?
Yes, I love podcasts. I wish I had more time on my hands. The most recent one I'm listening to is called The Telepathy Tapes. And it's all
Mm.
about how actually children that are labeled as autistic or with any sort of seen as disabilities actually have uh, very powerful other abilities that we all have, such as telepathy, but these children naturally tap into them because they're lacking some other more normal skills or qualities, and it's super interesting the type of well, they make really amazing studies on what is happening. Like they also can't quite believe that this is happening, right? Like it's the parents that are like really surprised that actually their child can read their mind and knows what's going on, and they cannot hide
Mm-hmm.
anything from them. And they do all sorts of studies to figure out whether this is true or not, and they're like blown their mind when with all the findings through these studies. Yeah, I enjoy it a lot. It reflects a lot of the work I'm doing as well, so I can find it very interesting.
Yeah, that's a very interesting podcast. And do you have any role model that you look up to?
Yes, I I regularly answer these questions whether I have role models all around me. Of course, I mean they're like people that you can say, oh yeah, this person, but it's so far away. But I look like more around me. Like I have so many role models around me. both of things that I really want to incorporate and embody, and others that I think like, wow, that's also the perfect role model of things I don't want to do. Uh, yeah, I see the people around me as my role models in their day to day, and in the very basic life and the choices that they make, and how they choose for themselves and for the love and the actual little things that make life happy, rather than going for like crazy mad things that are so out of reach. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like having these role models around us and seeing their day to day lives actually inspires us from the little things that they do. And is there a course that has inspired you?
Yes, I am a lifelong learner. Like it's a passion I have to keep on learning, developing, seeing what else is there. And I would say the most recent one is called apometry. That's a concept that goes quite
Mhm.
far back. It's about using symbols for energetic protection, energetic empowerment, and it's mind blowing because it's very powerful, and it's also not yet very much in the mainstream. Even though when you go back in history, it always has been. So, whether you're thinking about runes or other like
Mhm.
more known protection symbols, and this is actually very deep energy clearing tools. Yeah, energetic protection. So you really are yourself, and there's no interference from like uh, yeah, if you think about who we are as humans, our heart is such a powerful electromagnetic field, and it's constantly interacting with everything around us, which we don't see, right? It's like our phone, we don't see where it gets the information from, but it's pretty damn smart. So it's the same with our
Yeah.
body, right? We don't often know where we get the information from, but we're getting the information. And sometimes we don't know what to do with it because we can't place it, because we can't explain it in conventional ways. So, getting to understand that and putting also healthy boundaries in our energetic field is very much enabling us to live in more peace and more expressing ourselves, rather than what others expect of us, or the anxiety or the fear around us from others. That is, yeah, it's very interesting, this course. I'm in the middle of it. I'm already starting to apply it with myself and my clients, and the feedback and results are just like, yes, and more please. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful that you're talking about heart and protections and the energy, which correlates a lot to what you do and what we are about to be talking today. And now we can go into a topic. And my very first question for this topic is, what are the subtle red flags people often miss in the early stages of a toxic relationship?
One of the most common ones, if I look at the early stages, like there is a game
Hmm.
between like giving and taking. Like some people call it love bombing, other people call it whatever,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it's basically a little of, well, I'm not interested now, I'm suddenly super interested, and then once you're interested, I'm going backwards again and like being more distant. And this dynamic is often quite indicative of things that can become toxic. It depends, because this is just one thing where we also need to go back into what did this person go through, right? We attract often the same people that reflect our own wounds, our own things that need healing to address them. It's like we attract mirrors energetically. So
Mm.
um like this can go both ways, and sometimes like when you become aware of it, it can be very healthy, because then you can work through these emotions. But it can become like in a narcissistic case. I mean, everyone has some sorts of narcissism, but I mean, like in the more developed narcissistic cases where there's a lot of blame. The blame is always on the other person, belittling, uh, like jealousy of the immediate network, like trying to get the person away from their friends, family, etc. Trying to control them, phones, like all these type of mechanisms that are often disguised under, yes, but I love you so much and I just want to protect you.
Indeed.
Which, I mean, to a certain extent can be healthy and very welcome, but there needs to be respect, there needs to be balance, there needs to be mutual understanding and support. And that's when, well, yeah, that often goes in cycles. Like the same person, like if I look back, I will call her Sonia. This is me 15 years ago, right? I call her Sonia because my name is Sonia Micaela, but nobody knows that I'm called Sonia. I'm Sonia Micaela. Well, people know, but not really. I'm always going by Micaela. My mom was Sonia. So I will call myself Sonia for this call. And in general, I do that because like the most powerful and crazy transformation was with myself. When I met my ex, I was on one hand so like on the outside people would call me I'm aware of myself, I'm secure, I'm confident, beautiful, whatever. But I never saw myself like that on the inside. I felt insecure. I felt criticized. I felt rejected. I felt like I had abandonment issues. I had people pleasing issues. I had all these things. So when I saw this guy, I was like, wow, like you're like perfect. You're like amazing. And I placed him on this pedestal, right? Like I gave him that stage.
Indeed.
And while I gave him that stage, he then, in hindsight, like initially he didn't want anything, but I wanted him. Like we had something to teach each other. And we got into this relationship, and throughout the relationship, it became so unhealthy so quickly. But there was such a crazy dynamic because I really had to look at myself first to be able to get out of there again. It lasted 15 years. And nobody could understand that I was still in this relationship. So yeah, it's complex. It's really.
Yeah, and I feel like you have also recovered, and since you have built this business and you have also told us that you have recovered from this toxic relationship, what does resilience look like in the context of recovering from your toxic relationship? In this case, Sonia.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. No, you can call me Micaela. Just for the case study of the person, I will refer to Sonia because I'm not that person anymore. Like I came so far from there. I
Yeah,
now
you're
look back
Mika.
and I think like, who is this person? Like, but I can relate to her so much because I was her, and
Yeah.
now coming back to the resilience. She had to build that resilience to leave the relationship, and I noticed that with all my clients. Like it's a chemical addiction cycle usually that is there because it's a give and take. Like, oh, you're so lovely, you're so amazing, you're the best, and then like you're and a lot of swear words and horrible things, and you're like, and you believe them in both instances. You believe them when they're telling you how amazing you are. You're like, oh really, am I? Because you don't necessarily feel like that. But you believe it in that moment because you're so convincing, and then in the next moment it's like, no, you're like nothing. You are like, everything you are is because of me. And even though you're paying all the bills, you're taking care of everything, but he's the one that is responsible for all the good things, and you are the one who is to blame for everything that doesn't work out to his personal whatevers. And the worst is you can never do it right. Like it doesn't matter what you do. In the moment that he's needing a certain drama, a certain addiction, a certain cycle because he's not happy with himself. he convinces himself that he's perfect and that you are his problem, and he convinces you as well that you're his problem. But he doesn't leave, even though you're taking care of everything, and you tell him, well, if it's that bad, leave. But he doesn't leave, but he keeps on the cycle. And you're so lucky to have me. And what would you do without me? And you would be nothing. And really, like, through your own insecurity and this contrast between the loving and the totally manipulating, degrading, insulting, like it's such a contrast that you get bonkers. And the resilience you need to build while you're in that relationship, because you
Indeed.
will not be able to get out of there unless you do. So what it took for me is first to realize that even though he had good intentions, I don't doubt that he had good intentions. I'm not saying he was a bad person in itself. And I always say that very clearly, like, nobody is 100% good or bad. It was just that our dynamics, what we were reflecting in each other and what that was bringing up, was very unhealthy. That was really toxic. But what it took for me then is to say, okay, like, this guy, no matter how amazing he is, no matter how much potential he has, no matter what he says, I need to focus on myself. Because if I focus on him, like, it goes downhill. But at the same time, while you're trying to focus on yourself and you're starting to do self-development and your self-help books and meditations, and you maybe do a retreat somewhere, and you maybe get a coach or a counselor, or like, you're starting to do all these steps to get to yourself and to understand yourself. And like, he will even convince you that you're schizophrenic because your mom was schizophrenic and now you're schizophrenic. And a part of you is like, wow, maybe I am, maybe I'm making all of this up. Maybe it is all me. And then you start going to a psychologist, and then you start understanding, actually, this is, yes, there is a part of you in this, but there's a lot more behind it. There are a lot of root causes. And ultimately, you actually have to build a network again around you, because you probably lose all of that through this toxic relationship, through this protection, through this, like I lost all my friends, my family. Losing is a big word, like, once I came back to them, they were happy to see me back and to support me. But it took a lot to, like, there were many years where I was totally isolated. I never felt more alone than in this supposedly loving relationship. I literally. So it's about building back that network around you to support you, to also reflect you in a different way. Like, I was actually getting my stability and self-worth, and even my sort of, I name it holiday, but it wasn't really. But it was compared to what I had at home when I was going to work. When I was going to work, I had my sort of peace at work. And you're talking about a work that was highly stressful in a corporate environment. But for me, that was more peaceful than what I had at home. So it's realizing all these things and realizing it's there's no shame in that. It's just like an opportunity for you to grow. And if you take it as such, there will always be an angle where you see a positive aspect, and you can take a positive learning from it, and you can forgive, not for the other person, but for yourself. So this process you need to start doing while you're in the relationship to start to be able to get out of it. It took me from the moment that I thought I really want to get out of this relationship to actually getting out. It took me 4 years.
I see. And in unraveling this toxic relationship and getting better for yourself, how did you recognize these toxic relationships pattern and find what healthy relationships are?
I did a lot of self-study and therapies and all of it. And I just started realizing there always needs to be a balance. It needs to feel respectful. It needs to be understanding and supportive. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells the whole time, that's not an authentic relationship. That's not true love. something, but it's not healthy. Um, it, I mean, a healthy relationship, you feel like you are connected to the person, like you can trust this person, like you can build on this person, like the relationship I have now is like
Mm-hmm.
so. I mean, it's peaceful, it's powerful, it's passionate, but not in a disrespectful way. You know, like we can have disagreements. That's normal. Any relationship will have disagreements, and if that's not the case, then
Indeed.
it's probably also not that healthy, because then at least one person is keeping their opinion to themselves. um, but yeah, it's about the respect. It's about staying loving, even though there might be disagreements and different ways of seeing things, and it's about also ensuring that the person has their own path and their own time of development, and nobody should be forced to do anything unless they ask for it, which is a different matter altogether.
Mm-hmm.
um,
And since we have learned, about how to find these patterns and what these patterns are, how can we break free from these toxic relationships? And what are the key traits of a healthy relationship, the one that you're currently in? And how can someone trust again?
it takes really going back to the root cause of the whole challenge. When you find yourself in toxic relationships, like you usually notice that you have that trait when you're in a really toxic relationship and it goes really bad and you start feeling really alone, and then you start noticing that you have this challenge. When you start working on that and you start looking at the root cause, I always go back to the root cause. I don't like addressing symptoms is something very normal in our medicine nowadays. But I like looking at the root cause, because only then I can remove what's actually happening. So when we go back to the root cause, there is always a hurt inner child, an abandoned inner child. There's a lot of inner child work. There's a lot of understanding where this originated. Where else am I actually in similar dynamics, even though there might be more, less visible, because like the most intense relationships are the ones with the people that we're actually
Mm-hmm.
living with. Um, and usually when we are children, at some point we grow adults and we leave home and we don't think so much back into that. And then the only people that we actually live with is usually our partner, and then our family. But a lot of the healing
Mm-hmm.
happens also by realizing that you didn't start doing what you're doing in this relationship where it came to an extreme. You didn't start doing that in that relationship. You also are having that, like the same patterns that led you there. You also are displaying them at work with colleagues. You're displaying them with friends. You're
Mm.
displaying them with your family. Unaware, totally unaware of them, because they're not this extreme, right? You're not living together the whole day. But it takes really finding out, like, okay, where does this originate? What happened there? How can I let go of this? It takes a lot of first becoming aware. That's always the first step. I think becoming aware is the first step in change. Then looking, where does it
Mm-hmm.
come from, what happened, and then going into the healing. And the healing has also different stages and might look slightly different for different people. But it's very much about connecting with who you truly are. And that's not the person that everyone always told you you are or expected you to be.
Mm. Indeed.
It's really someone different. It's
Yeah.
someone that is deep inside that we often never allow to express, because there are so many expectations and rules and boxes you need to fit into. And but when we make this
Mm-hmm.
connection and remove all the layers, because I always talk about onions. We're like onions, right? When we talk about healing, when we talk about coming into who we truly
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
there are so many layers, and you remove one layer And then you think like, oh yeah, now I've dealt with this. And then another layer comes and you're like, oh wow, there it is again. And then you remove another layer and ongoing. And you might remove, I don't know how many layers. It's now been, well, I'm turning 38 in July, and my mom became schizophrenic when I was 5. Meaning that she couldn't be there
Oh,
for the family. It was a very traumatic experience for me, leading me. So this was my root cause. One of my root causes towards the patterns that I was feeling is I was feeling abandoned. I wasn't feeling good enough. I really felt like rejected. I mean, so many feelings that as a child, they're totally subconscious. Like you don't know what's happening. You don't know why it's happening. And later you don't remember and you don't make the connection. It took me so many different ways of approaching this one challenge to heal it,
yeah.
because it kept on coming up. And I'm not saying that it's completely gone now. Who knows? At the next opportunity, I may feel again like, oh, I'm being rejected, or I'm being abandoned, or I'm not being good enough. Like, and that's also the challenge in the relationships afterwards, right? Like you find someone, and you need to keep like you have met yourself, you know who you are on your own, and you're really doing
Hmm.
good by yourself, and then you might meet this other person and new dynamics start happening, and you continuously will be invited to
Yeah.
continue learning about this and to continue healing, developing, embracing what's happening. It's a lot of mindset work. It's a lot of really emotional cell healing, like our DNA. There's now scientific studies about our DNA actually literally keeping the imprint of all the traumas, pain, suffering that has been happening through the last hundreds and thousands of years in our ancestral line,
Oh.
which is like for me so explanatory of what we see in this world. Because when we think of it like this, like how are we meant to simply be happy when there's still all this vibrational residue in our DNA, literally uh, vibrating out to the universe, that this is not
Mhm.
healed yet. And the beautiful thing about this is that we can actually, when we do this work, and I always say this, like we have never been as
Mhm.
lucky as now, because it's the first time in history that we
Indeed, indeed,
actually
that's right.
can pay attention to these things and heal these things. And if we heal these things in ourselves, it takes commitment, it takes strength, but it's the most rewarding experience, because you feel that the healing you're doing is not just for yourself. It's making a positive impact backwards, energetically speaking, in the timeline towards your ancestors.
Mm,
And it's making a beautiful impact forward towards the generations coming after you, because they don't need to
of
carry the
course.
weight that you already shedded for them. They can have a lot more freedom and joy, and yeah, it's very powerful to think of it in the full context of
Yeah,
the non-material real world.
indeed. Especially the impact of leaving a toxic relationship can be better for your future generations, for future children's, as you mentioned. But what is your holistic approach to helping someone who is currently in a toxic relationship and they want to leave and to leave that toxic relationship? How can we help them holistically?
Really, the best way to help someone to leave is to be there for them, to love them and acknowledge them and admire them just for being able to be in there for in the first place. What I get so often is like the opposite of that. Like people think that they will help someone by telling them, "Oh, but you need to get out of that relationship. That's not good for you." I'm not saying you shouldn't say that, especially if it's a good friend or family member and you really love them. It's the way how you say it, and it's the timing and whether the person is open for it. Because it's so
That's true.
easy to actually prolong the cycle through these remarks. Because now I'm thinking back to Sonia and her 15 years in a toxic relationship, you cannot imagine how many times she heard how she should get out of that relationship because it wasn't good for her. And Sonia obviously thought like, F you, I'm living my life. You don't know what's going on inside of me. You don't know what's going on inside of these doors. You only see what's on the outside. And it's okay that you don't agree with it. It's okay that you love me, but you need to accept my choices. And this is my path. And these are the learnings that I need. And if I didn't need them, I wouldn't be in this relationship. So actually, the fact of telling someone what to do or not to do is often retarding the process of getting out. It really needs to come from the person. So the best support that you can give a person is, okay, like, how can I be there for you? What do you need? Do you need companionship? Do you need understanding? Do you need a good book? Do you need a good meditation? Do you need energetic clearing? Are you ready to, position yourself energetically speaking because you're telling me all these things that you're ready and you are fed up and you want to go? Okay, shall we bring this to the next stage of actually moving to a recalibration room and inviting this person and putting very clear boundaries? And I'm saying, I'm inviting this person, you need to think of a therapy room that you would go to, right? It's just not in this dimension. You cannot physically see it. So you will go inside and you will see it probably in your mind's eye. And there you will be in your sacred circle, really in your power with all your supporting teams and light stuff. And then you invite this person, and then you explain to this person where you stand and that you need to choose for yourself. And whatever you need to tell them, you tell them there in this space where they actually listen. So you're not speaking to the ego embodied in this 3D dimension. You're speaking to their soul. And at the soul level, it's so beautiful to see everyone wants the best for each other. And this brings me to a book that really, like, if you're listening to this, if you wanted to go deeper into this, there is a book from Robert Schwartz, which is Brave Souls, or there's a couple of different ones. But he talks in detail about how we actually want the best for each other as souls. And we will come to this world, even though it might be in difficult situations, to help each other have these lessons and move to the next level in our development, in our spiritual soul development. And this is exactly what we can do at that stage. Like, if the person is ready, and there are a few clients that started telling me, and we started working. Yeah, there are different clients that are at different stages. But what I often see is that they start saying in a moment of anger, right? Like, I want to end it all. Like, I'm fed up. And I've been there many times. Like, Sonia has been there like a million times. But then come the day-to-day dynamics where there is this manipulation. There is this energetic codependence, and it can be financial as well. There are so many things where you can be dependent upon each other. You might have children together, which makes it all together even more difficult. There can be a lot of factors keeping you together. However, the most important factor ultimately is the energetic intertwinement. What happens with us? I talked earlier about the electromagnetic field in our heart. We literally have, like, if you look at it from an energetic level, we intertwine like this. And the dynamics that we have, they go like this. So to get loose, like, you might get a little bit loose like this, and you're wiggling your fingers a little bit, and you're feeling like you're getting there. And then the dynamics start again. And before you know it, you're back into the right? So it takes really commitment to knowing yourself and evolving yourself. And then see what the other person does. Because the other person, like I said before, is probably not a bad person in itself and may have the best intention themselves. So if they are then willing to work on themselves as well, it might get good after all. And like, the biggest thing that keeps people together is hope as well. It's energetic intertwinement, and it's hope that all of the suffering was actually worth it to get to a better level together. because there is love. I mean, there
Mm.
is all this connection. So
Yeah, and sorry, and you have mentioned about the decision to leave, and deciding to leave is something that's powerful, but it's only the beginning of a new chapter in someone's book. And now we can approach. I'd like to ask further on what you have mentioned just now, which is the intertwinement, the energy intertwinement, and vibrational recalibration, which is what you have been doing with your work. And what does vibrational recalibration mean in the context from healing from toxic relationship?
um, yeah, it's all about getting back into your own energy. So when you talk about the energetic intertwinement,
Mm.
you when you look at it purely scientifically, there are chemical things that happening. So you're getting abused, you're getting loved, you're getting loved, you're getting abused, right? It's like any
Mm.
abusive cycle. It can be with drugs, it can be with people that are addicted to games. There are so many addictions, but it becomes an addiction. It's like the body actually is looking for the next kick, even though consciously you know that's not good for you. It's difficult to get out of it, right? So you have that entanglement also with alcoholics. You have it with any sort of addiction. It's a very similar entanglement. Only that with certain addictions like alcohol, it's not another person
Hmm.
that you're dealing with. It's more like a spiritual
Indeed.
essence that you're dealing with, and that is like an interaction as well. What happens with people um, is that they both are emotional beings, and there are energetic cords that form. I don't know if you're familiar with chakras and all of that, but basically, if you look back, and now it's being scientifically confirmed, but if you look back to ancient spiritual wisdom, whether it comes from India or we talk about meridians in our body, just like there are meridians on the earth, there are meridians in
Ah.
our body, and our body is extremely knowledgeable and always connected and is getting a lot of information from everywhere to everywhere, right? So what happens,
Hmm.
there are core energy centers that are each related to different
Mm.
aspects of our being. So there is the root chakra, which is all for the stability in life and for really like the safety, the comfort, the house, the safety. And then there's, for example,
Yeah.
the crown chakra, which is all about a spiritual connection to what else is there, and so on. And so all of these chakras, they go from the bottom of our spine to the top of our head. There's 7, 8 that are in our body, and there's a lot more that go beyond into our etheric bodies. Um, and the
Mm.
point is that these are core energy centers in our body, and each of them stands for different things. So, for example, the solar plexus is responsible for everything that's social interactions.
Plexus.
Yeah,
Mm.
here, yeah. um, Social interactions, a rejection, feeling good or better or not. So what happens in these chakras is they're constantly interacting with each other. So when you are very close with someone, when you're very intimate with someone, it can also be your family. Yeah? Like, for example, energetic cords towards your mother or
Hmm.
your brother or a sister, like those are very common, and they also happen in like partnerships, like in any sort of romantic relationship, because the more time you spend with each other and the more intense this time, and depending on how healthy or unhealthy the dynamics are, these cords can be like extremely strong, and like you can talk about like literally like big cables that are forming between people. And that means that, so I'm now coming back to Sonia. um, like the
Hmm.
cables that we got to remove when I started. So I was already 4 years busy, like 3.5 years busy with getting out of that relationship. I was becoming certified as a life and business coach for myself, right? For myself to treat my own challenges. And this is how I met my partner, Noeli, and we started working really energetically speaking. Like, she's the one that came up with the vibrational recalibration. She has been like, she comes from Brazil.
Mm.
She is so in touch with all the, like, Brazil is such a rich culture and everything that's energetic work. It's unbelievable. And she actually could hear and see things from a very early age. And for a long time, she didn't know what to do with it. But she learned, like, she did so many courses and developments, and she learned to integrate it all. And this is how vibrational recalibrations originated, where we actually went really deep into me, to create a safe space where nobody could interfere with, and invite, in this case, my ex, to uh, to firstly tell him everything that I felt and thought, which I never felt it was really getting to him in this 3D world. Um, and then I really told him, look, like, I really need to go now. Like, I know we both have good intentions, but this is it. It's interesting, right? The layers.
And it is interesting. Yeah,
So
indeed. And
it was this decision, and telling him, like, we will remove now all the cables that are between us, at least everything that we can remove for now, because I don't need to feel your emotions. I don't need to feel your guilt. I don't need to feel all the things that you put on me. It doesn't help me. It doesn't put me in any place that I want to be. And it's not helping you either, because this is not going anywhere. And anyway, so we had a few sessions of those. We removed the cables, and I could see already within the first session, like, his ability to manipulate me had diminished by, like, I don't know, 60%. It doesn't mean that he couldn't anymore, but I was suddenly able to see through it. I was suddenly able to notice how he was using the same triggers and the same emotional mechanisms to get me into the same cycles over and over again. And it was so obvious that I could just observe it and say, like, okay, I see what you're doing. I know that you have done this many times, but it's not working anymore. We need to go separate ways. So this work continued for 3 months, and it was actually on the day of my birthday that I asked him to please leave me alone. And the next day I packed my things and I went to help my friend and business partner Noeli to move houses. And I told him, I'm not coming back until you're gone. So the work that I had started 4 years ago, or so 4 years earlier, came to culmination in the matter of 3 months suddenly, because we started working on the energetic ties and dissolving those energetic ties and everything that actually means on an emotional level. And then finally I was able to leave.
And how can someone process the 4 year old the 4 years ago you, Sonia, 4 years ago Sonia, not the 4 years ago Mika, process and release the emotional residue of that toxic relationship?
It's it's layers. It's continuous work. It depends where you stand, because I see journeys as very individual. They have very common grounds. Like, it's in every case it's about coming to yourself, like really getting to know yourself. Very few of us have learned to really find out who we are, to really find out what we want, to really find out what our purpose is, what our values are. So everything is about getting to know ourselves. And then to be able to do that, there's a lot of things that we can do ourselves. Everything that you can do connecting with nature is already very grounding, very much bringing you to your essence, because nature is so peaceful and so grounding if we give ourselves the space to connect with it. People make fun of tree huggers, but you don't want to know how many times Sonia was so effed up literally
Mhm.
that she didn't know what to do anymore. And she did go tree hugging, and she felt so comforted by these beautiful ancient trees. Like it was incredible, the energy and the change in her energy that she could feel through this. And it's really like recalibration is all about our energetic imprint, our vibration. And you need to think that
Mhm.
all lower emotions, whether it's fear, anger, sadness, frustration, they're all on the scale, on the actual energetic, like all of these frequency are measured nowadays, and there are scales, and
Mm.
they're very low vibrating energies, like fear, anger, all of this what I just said. And then they're very high vibrating energies, which is joy, love, and that's like on the scale, it's like ones are down here, and then some become in the middle, and then the others are up
Mhm.
here. So if you, whatever you do, you need to do things that elevate your vibe, like, hey, what's up with your vibe, girl? you know, like elevate that vibe, whether it's
Yeah,
singing,
to
dancing,
higher.
meditating, running, going to nature, like interacting with animals, so powerful. Friends, like it doesn't matter, but raise your vibe, because that's the key to really getting to yourself, and to be able to make changes, to have the power to make changes. Because when you're in those low frequencies, not only is it depleting you, like literally energetically, that you don't have much power to do anything, but also when we are in those lower energies, and this is why I talk about protection, as soon as we
Mhm.
go into the lower frequencies, that can happen through an argument, it can happen through whatever. Um, it's very quickly so that we have like leeches energetically sucking onto us. There's like people like thinking about the physical world because it's visible, it's touchable, like you can see it all, and that makes it real, right? Um, I agree. But also
Mhm.
things are happening to my mobile phone and my TV that nobody can see, and it's still working, right? So there must be a lot of stuff happening on that level as well. Um, so when we look at the energetic world, there is, like we talk about angels, and some people believe in them, some people don't believe in them. We talk about monsters and stuff like that. Like children,
Mhm.
especially, are very good at sensing. Like children, there are so much in their essence, they're so much in their power, they're so sensitive to everything that's happening around them. They perceive
Indeed.
sometimes like ancestor spirits coming, or like angel spirits, or like also monster or evil spirits. Like all of that exists, and then we learn to forget about that, and then we think like, yeah, that's all nonsense, and it doesn't exist really. So we ignore the importance of this aspect, because these beings do exist. These beings
Mhm.
love it when we are in the lower vibrations, because that's what they feed off. Like, again, don't take it personal. Like, it's not that they care about you or not. It's just that there are beings that feed off negative energy, just like there are beings that feed off the poop when we put one outside, right? Or a dead animal that gets eaten by maggots. Like anything
Yeah.
has some sort of, like, it's an ecosystem, and just like we have in the 3D world, it's the same in the spiritual world. So yeah, if we are emitting negative energy and we are not protecting ourselves, and the longer we stay in that energy, the more we are attracting beings that feed from that. So
Mm.
we are not aware of it because we don't believe in these things. And because we don't believe in those things, we also think it's not necessary to do any sort of protection or anything. So what happens is that we actually are kept much longer in these emotions than we would need to. Because it's one thing that I hit my foot accidentally with a hammer and I shout and scream the
Yeah.
pain out of my body. That's one thing. That's good.
Mhm.
That's like, get it
Mhm.
out there. um, but once that's over, if I start martyrizing myself and how stupid and how could you have done this, and like all of this, then you start to go into a whole different circle of like negative things. Like if you stand up in the morning and you hit your toe on the bed, like there are two things you can do. You can say, oh shit, it was painful. And then you do a couple of breathing exercises, maybe the reset, and say like, oh, this was just an accident
Yeah.
and I will have an amazing day ahead. That's one way of doing it. Or you can be like, oh, I knew it, and this is always going to happen, and this day is going to be horrible. And before you know it, your whole day will be like literally like one disaster after the other. And all you did is having a different approach to the one thing that happened. And this is not just because
That's
of our
true.
own mechanism, it's literally what we attract through our vibration, through
Yeah.
our frequency.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, you move on from healing to thriving and becoming someone with a higher frequency. So how can we create this future that is better for us, and what mindset shifts are essential for long-term recovery and emotional resilience in your case?
First thing, taking responsibility. Well, first thing, acknowledging that you have done the best that you have always been able to do, based on what you knew, based on what you could do. Once you really acknowledge that and forgive yourself, it's a continuous, ongoing process. I still have to do that regularly. Um, Acknowledging that we're always doing the best, not taking it personal.
Mm,
Really realizing like I'm progressing. I'm accepting what has happened. I cannot change what has happened, so I will accept it, and I will look for the positive angles in it. I will look for the learnings in it. I will look for what in this situation did I do to enable this situation? Like taking responsibility,
mm,
like taking full responsibility for
indeed.
who you are and who you want to become, and being really strong when evaluating what's happening around you, um, to also recognize things that don't serve you, um,
Mm,
and it's an ongoing exercise. It's not one size fits all. It's not we do this one thing and then it's
indeed.
done forever. Uh, but it's okay, like if we are patient with the process and we keep giving ourselves the love and support and understanding that maybe others sometimes cannot give us. Um, like there will be always new triggers in new relationships, and it's important that
Indeed.
we observe them. And when we observe them, we decide what to do with them. And we also observe our own emotions. Like, just a quick example, like I love my new relationship, I love my new partner, and I say new, it's not that new anymore. We have been together for over a year now. Um, but it was very unexpected. And we, from the beginning, like he wasn't looking for a relationship, I wasn't looking for a relationship, but there we were, and it was really like powerful and still is. And we're very different. So I didn't expect someone from where I come from, to like from my neighbor town actually, to have like an open mindset and be able to um, open himself up to new things. So we had an amazing year really, and we were very authentic from the beginning with each other, through the freedom of not really expecting anything from each other. And now,
Mm,
obviously, it's been a year and there are new expectations that somehow come up, whether it's through ourselves, our subconscious, our surrounding, the expectations from society. There's so many aspects to this. Um, so these expectations lead to disappointment. And it's interesting because I see old patterns in myself where I'm like trying to get something what a person in that moment is not able to give me. And then I have two choices.
Mm.
Um, do I blame the person for it, or do I just not take it personal and see it as a reflection of where he is, and take my responsibility to do what I need to do to be okay with the situation, and to put my healthy boundaries
Mm-hmm.
as well. To be very open in communication. For me, communication is something that I really, especially like the closer the relationship, the more difficult it gets for me to really express my needs, because I'm so used to always putting everyone else's
People
needs before
pleasing,
my
yeah.
own.
Yeah.
And now it's really like this relationship is inviting me to like create a balance that works for me as well, without forcing him into something that he's not ready to do. And I'm not talking about marriage, because I'm not wanting to get married. In this case, I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
something very basic, where he has two children, and his work requires him to be where he is. I don't have children, and
Mm.
my work allows me to be wherever I want, because I work online mostly. So we have very
I
different life
see.
situations, and it allows me to go much more into his direction to enable this relationship, right? And then there's a part of me is like, yeah,
Indeed.
but this is not really fair. Like, you should be coming more into my direction as well, which is true to a certain extent.
Mm.
But I also need to manage the expectations, because I need to really like also look at his situation and mine. And it is just the case that right now, if I want to be with him, I need to be going into his direction, because I can and he cannot. And
Indeed.
that's nothing personal. It's not that he doesn't love you. But there's this old pattern inside of me. Yeah, look, look how many times he comes to your home. Like, okay, I live in the middle of the mountains right now, which is where I was born. So it's not so easy for him to get here. And but I see like these old patterns, like layers and layers, and I'm like really observing it, and being loving also towards myself and towards him in this process, and not take it personal. Look for solutions together.
I see.
As long as things are respectful, everything is able to work out. And in the end, also, I think it's a lot about not forcing anything that is forced. And I sort of did force my 15-year relationship, because he didn't want, like, our relationship started with him saying, I don't want
Um,
any relationship. And I said, well, I don't care. This is the type of girl that Sonia was at the time, and like now looking back, I think like, wow, like really not very intelligent, this girl. But okay, that was me too, and it's okay. We live and we learn, and everything that we do is not there to punish us or to be negative or whatever. It's there to teach us to become a better person, to become more knowledgeable about ourselves in the first place, and to be able to heal and let
yeah,
go of old patterns, so we can create a new world that benefits everyone. It's
indeed. And in going out of your toxic relationships and becoming someone who's healthier, what practices do you recommend for staying aligned with one's highest good in relationships, or the vibrations that you have mentioned?
yeah. Nowadays there are so many practices, and some people that are more spiritual tend very much towards yoga. Like, I would say it's not a one size fits all, because I know, for example, my current partner, like, he doesn't think he's spiritual, but he is spiritual. But it means that he grounds himself very much with very daily activities, like working with his hands, hanging out a little bit with his friends, whatever. Like, there's different ways to keep your vibration up. For me, that's not enough. I also need some yoga. I need nature. I need dance. I need fun. I need laughter. I need friends to laugh with. It's different ways. So it's not a one size fits all. but it's a journey to finding yourself, and it's a journey to figuring out, well, paying attention to the signs of your body. We're so much used to being in the head, and the head is like this one tool where everything happens, and the body is just like
Indeed.
a vessel that's doing the work, right? There's so many neurons in our body that if we start listening to our body, like if we start doing practices to go more to our body, we will get information, and we will know. We will know everything, and we will be able to observe what is taking energy from me, what is giving me energy, what is raising my frequency, what is taking it down just like that. And then be observant, factual, not judgmental, because all of these situations are there for our highest good, but evaluate. Okay, so these things take energy away from me, or these people, or these situations, or whatever. So let's try to limit them. And these things, wow, there I actually feel like I'm getting into the best me. Okay, let's elevate them. Let's do more of that. And it's not a one day to the next. It's an ongoing process.
Can you share a specific vibrational recalibration technique so that listeners can try it home?
Yes. I mean, if I do an actual meditation, it takes a little bit longer. So I maybe will say what I do, and then I would recommend people to like the most basic things on how to implement, right? Like if you can go to nature, to a quiet place, to a nice tree, to a nice meadow, wherever you feel like really welcome and good. That can also be your room. Create a sanctuary in your room. That's also possible. Or if you're at work, you can also just go to the toilet and have a break there. But it's really like if things, literally, like be creative. Like find, you cannot choose what's happening to you. A lot of things happen to you all the time. And the only thing we choose is what to do with it. So find whatever is happening, find a space where you can be safe and good for a moment. And this moment can be a minute, it can be 10, it can be 10 hours. It doesn't matter. It's your sanctuary. It's your moment for recalibration. And a very short recalibration that already makes an incredible impact, and you don't even need to go anywhere, is your breath. So if things are triggering you, you notice it and you feel emotional or whatever, you can recalibrate already with your breath. So you can close for a moment your eyes or not, and just take 3 deep breaths. And you just imagine how everything leaves your body that doesn't serve you anymore. And you continue breathing, and you just take one hand, and with the other hand, you just touch your hand, and you try to feel what this hand feels like. Yeah, very softly, very gently, you're just touching different parts of you and feeling what that feels like, both the touch and the touching. And you just imagine some roots going into the earth, grounding you. And when you open your eyes, you're already a new person, like you have completely reset your nervous system in less than a minute. And this is a super short, very basic.
Wonderful.
You can do much longer. You can play really with what I really love doing, especially in busy environments or when I'm getting impacted by my partner or whatever, is like putting a bubble around me. And it can be a bubble of golden light or whatever. And you really imagine this bubble like protecting you completely and nothing being able to get in there. You can continue by cutting the cords if you want to and really visualizing like nothing gets in there, like it's purely you. You can put mirrors on this bubble to really protect your energetic field in the moment of whatever impact is happening from outside. And one thing that I really need to say still, which was for me, especially in the moment of arguments, in the moments of abuse, where the triggers were really high, there was this one sentence, and it was again with your breath, but I didn't have to close my eyes or anything. I just, with every breath in, my anchor is my breath. So I was saying in my head, with every breath in, my anchor is my breath. And with every breath out, my breath is my anchor. My anchor is my breath is my anchor. And I like focusing on that. Almost anything can happen outside of you. You don't care anymore because you're with yourself. I mean, in a
Thank
positive
you very
aspect.
much for sharing the way. Yeah, indeed. And thank you very much for sharing your way of recalibrating and basically meditating so that we can be calmer and more serene and more connected into our spiritual realm. And thank you very much with that. And now we are going to go to the segment called Open Mic, where you can talk, where you have the chance to talk about anything that you're passionate about and doesn't have to be related to the topic.
Okay. Thank you, Sabrina. Yeah, there's one thing I
You're
really
welcome,
want to
Mika.
talk about, which I find super exciting. So,
Mm-hmm.
as you now have heard throughout my story a little bit, like a lot of my healing journey has been energy work. And this is something that for many people is still like unfathomable, like, well, what?
Mm-hmm.
um, so there is a beautiful new movement starting. Well, it's happening in the US. Heartegy is a big part of that movement as well. Actually, originally, when we started with Heartegy, we thought that was our purpose, but it's not. It was really like helping people one on one. But this is the Institute of Energetics. And the Institute of Energetics is now being created as we speak. Like it's being birthed right now. Like yesterday, the first like the logo is being announced now, and the mission and the purpose, and it's all about really making energy healing safe, relatable,
Yeah,
accessible, and really like being the first line of support in our day-to-day life, because everything is energy. That is something scientifically confirmed, right? And when we start really
indeed.
work yeah, and yeah, starting to work with that is really powerful. So it's about really making this movement accessible to everyone, to create a better world altogether, and to become into the best versions. Well, become into the best versions. That's not English. Become our best versions through these tools as well. So I'm really excited about these developments.
Mm-hmm.
We are just going live now. There will be a lot of things happening over the next month. And like we said, we really want to make it easy and accessible for everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
I would love people that are interested in this topic to also have a sneak peek at the Institute of Energetics, see if it calls them. There will be a lot of events also for people to try, to see what they think, to see how they feel, and a lot of opportunities for collaboration as well, if any advanced healers, practitioners. I like to call more facilitation of healing. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities both for collaboration and also for healing, for getting into our best selves with the help of so many different practices. There are so many amazing tools, and everyone will resonate with slightly different ones depending on where they are and what their needs
Yeah.
are and all of that. But yeah, I wanted to mention this.
Yeah, that's great. You're doing wonderful work, Mika, and you're helping these female leaders and a lot of females around the world in healing and getting out of these toxic relationships through Heartegy and the Institute of Energetics. And if our listeners want to find out more about you, where should they go?
Well, um, I would say the first place could possibly be our webpage, which is probably going to be linked, right? I think there's also going to be linked my social media. My plan is to become a lot more present on social media. Until now, really, like all my clients have been coming via referrals, because obviously also it's a sensitive topic. But I want to make it really accessible, and I want to start talking about so many things in this aspect to make it more, to normalize it a little bit, not in a sense that we should prolong this, but in a sense that it's okay to be there, and that it's okay to want to get out there, and that there are resources, and that there are people, and because this is happening to so many more people than we think. I mean, it's really impressive how many people tell me, yeah, but I don't tell this to anyone, because this is like everyone thinks I'm having a great relationship.
It's a vulnerable topic.
It's very vulnerable. Yeah. But I think it if we start understanding the dynamics and we start talking about it more, it will become less vulnerable, because I think everyone can relate to it, and everyone has in some way had either one role or the other. Like there's the Eurythmics song. How does it go? I'm trying to. I've traveled the 7 seas. Everybody's looking for something. Some people are trying to use you, and others are looking to be abused, or something. Like there's a whole like there's always a dynamic, and we all like this is just a very. I don't know the letters right now. It just came to me because it's such a representative song of how we all actually contribute, usually more unconsciously than consciously, to unhealthy dynamics around us. Like I don't think I know anyone who can say that they don't have any unhealthy dynamics around them and participate in them. And of course, some are more extreme than others, which is why they may be more obvious.
True.
But I really would like to invite everyone to evaluate, like, how can we support each other in a loving way, where we don't try to push what we want onto others, but try to let people flourish and explore who they are, and elevate each other like that. I think there's a lot of work that we can still be doing all together in this world.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mika, for coming to today's podcast. And for everyone else who want to follow Mika's journey at Heartegy and the Institute of Energetics, you can look at the link below. And thank you, Mika, and we'll catch everyone in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Bouncing Back, the Personal Resilience Science Insights podcast produced by the Life Management Science Labs. Listen to episodes from LMSL's 10 Life Management Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or other podcasting apps on your smartphone. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it and us grow to bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website, pr.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Joanna. Thanks for tuning in.